Hi guys! Today I'm going to turn this skirt that used to be mine into a little girl skirt. I love the little details on it, and if you're like me, I hate to throw stuff away that still has life in it. So I'm going to turn it into a little girl skirt. Okay, so now I've turned the skirt inside out. I've taken the buttons off. So what I'm going to do is to make it easier is I'm going to go ahead and cut off the skirt that I can use. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to say this measurement up to where it's stitched there down to the bottom of the skirt is 13 7/8. So I'm going to go down here. I'm going to measure 13 7/8, mark it with our little piece of soap. Any old little piece of soap will work. And if you are using white fabric, you can always find green pieces of soap or whatever. Just mark that all the way down across. Okay, so I've cut that off. Another thing that you want to do is this one, a lot of your skirts, if you use it and they have the flaps like this, they have some stitching here. You want to seam rip this out and you want to cut off the seams. Alright, so now take your measurements, and for my daughter, her waist is 20, and then I divide that by 4 because I'm only working at a quarter of the skirt. So I'm only working on the front half, and I put the two together, so I only have a quarter of it. So I divide the 20 by 4, which is 5, and then I also add in the seam allowance. Now, this is overlap, so I'm going to measure from here. So this point, take your trusty piece of soap and mark it there, and then also add in your seam allowance. I'm going to add in a 1/2 inch seam allowance. Also, we measured the hip, which her hip is 22.5, and then the distance from there was 4 inches. So at this point, I just need to make sure that 4 inches down, right here, and we're using soap, so all this washes off super easy. This is my line. I'm going to measure here, again dividing the 22.5 by 4, which gives me 5 and roughly 3/4. So I'm just going to make sure that, and then also add the seam allowance to that, that this line is going to make it past her hips, which is there. So as you can see, we're going to take this straight edge and I'm going to match up the waistline and the hip line and go all the way down here. You might have to fudge a little bit on this, kind of work with your line here. But as long as they're straight and together, you should be all right. So my line kind of curves in there. I can kind of straighten it out a bit, and then even when I cut it. Okay, now I'm back at my skirt. This is the front. It was the back of my other skirt, and it's going to be the front of this skirt. So I'm going to put the two right sides back together, and this is my curve for the back part as well. You want them to match up. So I'm going to use this as my pattern piece to cut out the back. And since the back part was the front part, I can use it all in one piece. So I'm going to fold it in half. And again, it doesn't match up the way I want it to. The important part though is that the seam allowance, the bottom edge, matches up. That's the most important part. Now I'm going to take this over here, and don't be too concerned if you don't have enough room, because this front one we overlapped and all that. So just use what you can of that, making sure that you have your 5 inches. Okay, so now we're ready to sew the sides together. Always remember right sides together. Right sides together. Always remember right sides together. Sew this up, whatever seam allowance you use. I used a 1/2 inch, so when I sew it, I'll do it a 1/2 inch. Testing, testing. I want to stand here, maybe over here. Here. I think this one's better. Okay, now I'm back at the sewing machine. Sewing machine. Ha ha ha. Hi guys, I'm going to take this skirt. Oh, okay. Hi guys, we're going to take this skirt and